So let's start off with, we have three wonderful guest speakers, but they're not really going to speak. They're just going to show us their home studio and what they use to live stream and record content. And then Anthony's going to follow up with a $1 a day YouTube ad campaign. He's going to show us from beginning to end. It's going to take him about 5 or 6 minutes, and he's going to show us how to create your own YouTube ad campaign using $1 a day as your budget. Quickly, a recap of the last couple of weeks. We showed you the small webinar station, which is the webcam, the bar lights, the webcam on top of the laptop, and that's the configuration. Garth showed us this. He created this as a small little webinar station, and it works great. It's all powered by USB, microphone, lights, and camera all into the USB bar. And then we showed you Eric Chester's studio, which is a little more complex, which I call the Home Studio Pro Kit. DSLR camera on the tripod. He's got that configuration with his teleprompter and his backdrop, which is basically a brick wallpaper pattern. And that's an output of one of his recordings. And then we showed you the virtual live studio that Mark Sandberg and I created with Garth of Garth Productions. And we call it Livestream Denver. And we offer the webinar sort of environment and then a staged environment. And so that's for people who just don't have the space really, or really don't want to create what we're advocating here is the home studio approach. And so let me go into who's with us. We have Brad Montgomery, we have David Avrin, and John Sileo, three of the veteran speakers in the NSA chapter, award-winning speakers, really great guys, my really good friends. And they're gonna show us what they do. And right now, let me talk about Brad. Brad is, he speaks on employee engagement and corporate culture. And if you haven't seen Brad at work, you just need to see Brad. He's so fun. The adjective I think of Brad is basically lovable. He's like this lovable guy. And then there's Brad in the home studio environment.
I think handsome is a better description, just saying.
Handsome. Yeah, that for sure.
Lovable. And no guy wants to be lovable.
Yeah, but you're lovable. You just look lovable. I'm sorry, you just do. And average, my good. Yeah.
It used to be that I thought you were awesome until that moment.
Okay, squishy. He's squishy. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
And we all Dave is a master marketer and visibility coach. He speaks on the customer experience. And Dave actually has great background in TV production. He's been on camera for many years. And so he's taken his skill and he's created a pretty cool concept at his house. And he's recorded a lot of material. And then there's a capture of one of his recordings. And then John Sileo, who is my great friend and really smart at what he does. And he speaks on cybersecurity. There's a screen capture of John's studio environment and a little screen capture. And John recorded and produced a really cool virtual demo. Basically, instead of a speaker demo, it's now a virtual keynote demo. And it shows what he can do in the virtual world. And it's really great. I hope John shows it to you because it's a great demo video for virtual capability. So that's that. I'd like to ask you, Brad, to jump in and tell us what you have going on there in Centennial.
What's up? Mark, I missed you. All right, so I'll show you my home studio. Here's the theory on my home studio. I've gone the cheap way whenever possible. So I've got, let me see if I can show you. I'm using a software called Ecamm for my Mac. Let me see if I can get this to work. Oh yeah, look at that, yo. Boom. Sorry, I'm gonna, can you see the feed out of my phone?
Yeah, right now we do.
All right, yes. Cool. So this is the view from where I'm standing. So you can see a laptop and I got a shadowy box, whatever that's called, Mark. And then there's a DSLR camera plugged into the Mac. But I owned those before the quarantine. Then I got one more over there on my right. Oh, that's the best part. That's a drum set. And one more on my left. So then, let me see if I can get this right. Forgive me for not being a little quicker with you. Dang it. Come on, 2. Maybe this is exactly the problem. Let me drop this down. Stay tuned. Watch the magic. So I saw, for example,
That's
Eric
great.
Chester has this really cool drop-down thing. What that is the cheap way. So I bought a $40 green screen, and then 2 sticks. And
No,
I stapled the green screen to the one stick and a green screen to the bottom stick. And I had 2 poles I already owned. I don't know why I owned them, but they were sitting in the basement. So they're sitting on there. But that works well for me because I don't have a space where I can just permanently set up a background and make it convenient anyway. And this is totally inconvenient. It blocks windows behind me, but I can't get to for example, my phone's on the other side of that screen. So that kind of sucks. But this is all I've, and then also I have a Yeti microphone right here, which I owned way before the thing. And that is my awesome studio.
I think the background
and so
looks
when you
great.
record, and when you record into, how do you come out of your camera? How do you get your camera to your computer? Do you have to use an encoder?
Yeah, that's
or
done
is
in
it
the
straight-
software called Ecamm Live. So the DSLR that I'm looking at goes with a USB cord into my Mac, and then magically Ecamm Live recognizes it. So then I can choose the camera. When I'm in Zoom, I can choose the camera, and it shows my laptop camera. Let's see if I can get that one going.
And have you had to have have you had to use 2 computers, one for your slide deck and one for your webinar station? Or not
Funny you
webinar.
should ask, because John will tell you the same thing. He's actually done it. There's 2 things I'd love to mention. One, I think it's important for you guys to know I haven't earned a nickel virtually, like literally not a nickel. So to me, I think it's important. I don't know if enough people are saying that out loud, that just because you have a cool camera and the lights from Amazon and a green screen behind you does not mean it's easy to sell this crap.
Yeah.
I've found, for me and my market and what I've been doing, it's been ridiculously hard to sell it. So I think that's important. The second thing, I have used it to do Facebook Live. I'm just trying to teach myself how to do it. And Mark, through Ecamm Live, I'm able to project screens, which is kind of cool because I can make it look like it's written on the brick, which is kind of cool. But it's so slow. Like, I have a pretty tricked out iMac, and it's supposed to be a beast, and it is really slow. So that's why I think like, if I were doing this regularly, I would use 2 computers. I would buy a $200 monitor to let them see it. Because this is not great. Or
Yeah,
John and I were joking that whiteboard really might be the better idea, because like when I logged on here, I had all these technical errors because I took the dog for a walk and I thought it'd be easier to set up, and it's not. And then the PDF is slow, or you screw something up. So maybe having just the webcam and not even a DSLR with a decent light and a whiteboard, that still might be the better answer. But again, I don't have a lot of practical knowledge, meaning I haven't sold it. The only thing I've done is Facebook Live, and so I'm very proud of the fact that I'm a owner of a green screen, but the joke is that I'm a unemployed guy with a green screen.
Everybody is. Everybody is.
Well, and when you do your green screen, do you find that coming out of your camera and you have your green screen background, do you find it complicated when you're actually streaming live? I guess I'm getting back to the second computer. Do you feel like if you're going to do anything live on Zoom, for instance, do you have to have a second computer, or have you figured out a way to get around just one computer?
No, I haven't used a second computer, but I'm not even sure what the purpose is, because I'm able to project myself with a nice background and you can hear me and see me. So I don't know what the second computer's for.
Well, just for the presentation monitor, because what I've been, so Dean is trying to figure out how to get a presentation monitor and at the same time do a live stream. Because like Eric does his setup, he's got his monitor there, has a nice arrangement, but he doesn't do that when he's doing live streaming. He just turns off the monitor, or he'll put a logo up there. But as soon as you start changing slides on the monitor, you're inside the slide program. And when you're inside the slide program, you can't activate the webinar software. So you have to get out of it and get into it, and it's really clunky. So, and I have Ecamm Live as well, and I figured out a way to go back and forth with one computer, because if you're gonna do content delivery, you wanna have a shot of yourself and then a shot of the slide. So yourself monitor and then the slide full frame. But you can't really do that without being a little tricky on Ecamm Live. And so I guess what I'm saying is,
I think
for those who want to do it that way, they need a second computer.
I think you're wrong and right. When I saw Ecamm Live, it says, here's how you do slides. And it's freaking slicker than crap. It's so cool. And it's behind you and it's one computer. So yeah, you can do it. And no, you can't do it, because even my fancy desktop doesn't work. It's not fast enough. So that's why, yeah, I need to go to, I'm looking at your screen, Mark. I need to go to a monitor like that or a whiteboard. But for me, it's a moot point because I don't have a gig to worry about.
Yeah. Well, what else would you like to tell us?
Well, I just like to remind people that I'm the positivity guy. And I hope this was inspiring and uplifting for all of you. But the only thing is, just to remind everybody, here's my metaphor, Mr. Camacho. I think if we took newbie speakers and we said, oh, you want to be a speaker? Let me help you out. You need a way to project images in front of the audiences. There's a lot of software choices. PowerPoint's famous. You might want to look into it. And then we said, you need hardware. You know, you need a way to hold something in your hand to advance those little slides you're projecting. There's a lot of choices. I can help you with that. And let me show you how to wear a microphone and turn it on right. That is where we are right now. I think all of us are learning how to do this. And we're so excited about the PowerPoint, or the metaphorical PowerPoint and clicker, that we're not talking about, that still doesn't give you shit. It still doesn't get you booked. And it's the minimum requirement. This is like kindergarten. So yeah, we all have to do it. I did it. But I feel like no one's talking, you know, it's just very rare in NSA and all those chat boards that people are saying, yeah, and are you getting booked? So I've taken this look on Facebook Live, and I'm flattered because speakers will call me and they'll write me and they say, that looks so cool. All they want to know is the technology. Here's who's not booking me, or who's not calling, is anyone with $1 who wants me to do it for them. So I don't mean to be a mopey sack of poop, and I recognize I am a little bit. But I also think it's important that we share that image too, that some people are doing well, but you know, straight keynote speakers, all the ones I'm talking to, are not doing that great. I think there's outliers, but I think they're just that, outliers. So if you're not making a ton of dough, I'm telling you, you don't have to feel lonely.
Yeah, I think well, Brad, does this work? Can you guys hear my microphone on this thing?
Yes.
I think, Brad, I've seen some of your posts online. I just think it is refreshingly authentic. I don't know that, I don't know. I know people who are getting gigs. I don't know anybody who's making a living. If you don't mind me chiming in right now, we see some wonderful colleagues of ours. People really appreciate spending incredible amounts of money, phenomenal technology and rigging systems. And all that. The marketplace has yet to demonstrate that it's willing to pay for it. And counter to that is the onslaught of free, I 10 a day, down from 20 a day. Join my free webinar on how to survive COVID-19. Understanding, of course, nobody's actually overcome a pandemic before actually having lived through one, but everybody apparently is an expert on overcoming pandemics. And last week they spoke on French pastry cooking, and today they're an expert on overcoming and surviving next phase of pandemics. So Brad, I for one, and it's not just me, sorry, I just clicked on something. I'm clearly not the only one that appreciates your candor and honesty, evidenced by the other comments on Facebook and others. Everybody's going through this. So thank you for that. And I like your brick wall. I think you look great.
It's fake.
Well, that's a good segue.
I know that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it looks good.
I like it. That's a good segue, David, because you do weekly content. And so how do you feel that sets you apart? Are you able to monetize your weekly recordings and
Well, let me tell you about a couple of things. First of all, I have a convulsive cough I haven't been able to get over for the next couple of weeks. To say that nobody wants to be near me is an understatement right now. Twice tested negative for COVID-19, so it's not an issue. I was actually in a suit all morning. I did 2 Vistage presentations today. So I'm making this much, Brad, you know, with that. But I've actually been doing construction. So I'm going to show you that what I've been doing in a minute, because we're all pivoting and we're trying to find, at least if there's an opportunity, we want to look better than others who are doing it. We want to be ready for whatever the manifestation of that potential gig, whether it's a training, whether it's a speaking, whether it's a breakout, whether it's an extended session. We want to have the capabilities that we have, and whether you put a green screen behind you. Now, this is what I've used for some time. Let me tell you a little bit about what Mark asked me to share. So I apologize, I'm in a t-shirt, because literally I have been up for the last 2 weeks. Somebody follows me on social media. I've been doing construction. And like everybody, saved money. I did all the framing, I did all the drywall, I did everything myself except for the electrical, because I'm not qualified. Was up late last night painting and doing baseboards and trimming the door and painting my door. And so I'm gonna show you what I do. But the thing that's been a saving grace for me, and I'm telling you, I am late to the dance. We've been hearing, and I see so many of my great friends here on the line, we've been hearing for 20 years, we don't sell speeches, we sell wisdom, right? And our wisdom can be delivered across a variety of platforms. For 20 years, I sold speeches, and I had a book in the back of the room. And the people say, that was great, so what do we do from here? And they're like, you wanna buy my book? That's all I had. So I am nobody to hold up as a great example. I'm sorry, this is one of the venues. I'm gonna show you this in a second. But a year ago, I kind of saw just frustrated. I went through a divorce about 6-7 years ago, remarried to an absolute angel. My youngest, both of our youngest were going off to college in 1 year, and looking at that empty nester time, like, where is my residual value beyond my speaking? So I put together, started working together on a series, is what Mark had referenced, called the Customer Experience Advantage Morning Huddle. And it was intended as an add-on after a speaking gig. When someone says, so what do we do now? I have a weekly engagement series. And so I write about 1,300 words every week. I script it, I teleprompt it, I record it in front of a white screen. I edit it all myself with a little screen here, picture in picture in the side with all the slides. Create a facilitator's guide. It's a done for you, and I get subscribers. So the intent is to work with bigger organizations. They pay X number a month, and they get this morning huddle content done for you. And I just launched in January, and we're now translating it into 4 different languages. I'm not going to pretend, and I'm not going to posture and say I'm making a fortune. It has saved my life, but all my gigs canceled just like everybody else. Everything. The good news is September on is busy, but none of us know that they're actually going to happen or not. We just don't. You just don't know if it's going to happen. And so we're all struggling. And anybody who says, I don't know who's paying $20,000, $30,000 for keynotes. It's not a keynote. We're already getting Zoom fatigue. So I have a couple of things that I'm trying to do to make money in the meantime. One, we have our same machine that rolls with my staff. And we are booking gigs for next year and things like that, but because they're seeds we planted last year. But on the virtual side, so I have a production studio, and I'm going to show you what I do, what I used to do in my office that's starting tomorrow, because I'm actually going to debut it tomorrow. I'm literally sweaty because I've been painting. I do my morning huddle production every week. The downside is I've created a monster that demands to be fed. There are no weeks off. And even if I got a cough and whatever else, I got to find a way to do it. And even if my hair gets, I think it's kind of, Carolyn's not kind of McDreamy hair. It's a little bit longer now. I was just thinking. But I'm also putting together a studio. So what I've had, and I've got a demo that I put out to, and I said I got 3 virtual venues, virtual live. The office, where my sort of podcast kind of stuff, I have it well curated. I'll show you that in the other room with my books strategically located next to my head. My white screen or green screen where I do my huddle. And this is what I call the conference room, which is literally a conference room. So I'm normally in a good suit. I have this monitor, and Mark, to what you said before, I do have a separate computer right there on a chair.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
just because I've got a hardwire connection, so I'm not on Wi-Fi, so there's not that issue. And then I just flip through slides. So as I'm talking, I'm doing it here. I can walk to the other side, right? I've got slides, you know, working out here. It's actually sort of a conference table because I've done 5 Vistage gigs and I just kind of put my knee up. So see how look how engaged I look and everything else, but it actually helps my back. But I've tried really carefully to sort of curate what that might look like. What I've learned in terms of lighting, and everybody has a lot of lighting, I have a simple app. It's called Webcam Settings. And watch this. So we want it brighter, it's brighter. And darker, it's darker. You want, oh, look, I'm so tan. Oh, look, oh, it's kind of dark and gloomy. And I just slide things back and forth. And so I don't have to add extra lights. I don't have extra lights. So wait a minute. So now it's way too red here. There we go, about natural there. So I just got an app. I just have a regular webcam, a Logitech webcam that I do instead of my MacBook camera, which wasn't very good. This gives me an opportunity to do some, it's a little less fisheye. A lot of people get close and all of a sudden their face is really distorted and everything else. So like Brad was saying, I just try and look as good as I can. But as I said, I don't know that the marketplace is willing, certainly not now with the glut-free stuff, is really willing to pay for it. So this is one of my venues. I call this the boardroom. I'll give you a quick look around. You understand I'm doing construction. So I got crap everywhere. So this is literally, I have a 13-foot long conference table. So this is sort of my office space. And this is just, there's my green screen, other stuff. I've got whiteboards that I can do stuff. I have, whoops, sorry. So this is my office space. And under there, I've got like a little recording studio under the stairs. But I just have things sort of stacked up on an old plaque and then on a computer. And of course, like a lot of people, you know, or when we used to be in our hotel room, and we would do it on the ironing board or something else in our hotel room, right? We all do. So this is what I call the boardroom. So when I'm doing, like, been doing Vistage presentations, this is my most formal standing up presentation that I'm offering. Not posturing. Not a lot of people are willing to pay for it, or at least not yet. They're still holding off. We don't know if we're going to do our September conference. I think we're all in kind of the same position. But what I recognized was it's still a bit limiting. So I was in my office, and I'm gonna walk over and I'm gonna show you really quickly a couple of things. Is that okay? You want to see what I do? Because I'll show you what I built as well. So I'm gonna really apologize for the messy stuff. I'm literally carrying my laptop. So
your camera is a webcam. You're not using a DSLR like Brad.
No, but I have a really nice video camera that I use for my morning huddle video series. Okay, so when I'm in my office, once again, a fairly well curated, I'm gonna plug this in so you light work. Like, uh-oh, did I lose it?
We hear you.
I know. I don't know why I clicked that button. And of course, everything's dark all of a sudden. So quick fix of my webcam, because you're gonna like the studio. I want to show you this here. Show webcam settings. Let's go auto.
And what do you deliver from this environment?
So this is, oh, I'm on the wrong camera. Hang on. There we go. Aperture. Okay. So really messy office. Blue Yeti microphone. So when I'm here and I'm on my, get this sucker turned on. Of course, everything's not. So I do, when I'm doing podcast interviews, for example, I do them right here. I do have a ring light in front of me. I always make sure the little top of the Blue Yeti shows, just because it's kind of a cool look.
Yeah.
And hang on a second. So the door is shut, the desk is clean, my books are strategically located next to my head. And so here I can do, you know, do the podcast interviews. I do my bomb videos for clients. You know, hi, Julie, David Avrin. I know you're talking to Tiffany here in my office about the possibility of me coming and speaking for your conference in November. I think the fit is great. Listen, I've worked with your industry. I do blank, blank. So I do that kind of stuff. I hope we have a chance to work together. Thanks. Click. This is what I call the office. That was the boardroom. And what I had here in the corner of my office was, let me see, I'm gonna unplug. Hang on a second. Okay. I literally have a long cord because I didn't want to do this on a Wi-Fi. So I had this back wall in my office where I had my white screen. Let me fix this real quick. So now I'm going to walk over and I'm going to show you my new venue, which is actually really cool. So let me fix my webcam setting. Let's go auto. There we go. A little more natural. Okay. So this is my, like I said before, I'm actually going to turn my camera around and I'm just going to walk around with this so you can see it. So once again, mess because I'm doing construction, but here's my setup. So I've got things set up high. That was behind me and that's what I had. I recognized that I needed a little more flexibility. I just want to be as professional as I can, hoping that somebody will want to pay for it. So this is my basement, and there's my exercise equipment. One would think I would be far more muscular than I am, given all the equipment that I have, but I'm not. So here's what I created. So I just built, and this room is about 19 by 14 feet. Framed it, painted the door last night. There's my cool on-air light, just because I wanted to geek it out a little bit. Mostly to tell my kids, Daddy's recording, leave them alone. And then here's what I have. So the room, see how well we can do this with my webcam. I have a big room,
nice.
dark gray carpeting. So here's what I did. So I've got this wall, which is, see, I got pegs up high, and I'm going to put grommets, and I'm going to hang all of my banners. So I've got a white screen. I've got, you know, a brick pattern or whatever else. And then the light. So this is what I do when I do my morning huddle. So I have a regular camera with a teleprompter, and I put an iPad on there. So I do my script and I do everything on that. I've got the lights. So there's a good big wall to do things on. And then this wall, nice. Green screen. So I literally, that's the other nice excuse I get is when I'm doing construction, I tell my wife, oh, I need a new tool. So I bought a grinder and I grinded down the walls of my basement with all the little nubs and everything on there. Found the exact green and painted it there. And then everything else is black. So here's the other stuff I bought to make it work. So I got a 65-inch flat screen to do like I just did in the other room, which was have a background, whether it's graphics, whether it's my logo. I mean, it's like $350 at Walmart, but it's a really nice screen on a good stand. So the idea is that I'm standing in front. I've got the black wall and that behind me. You can't really see very well with whatever colorful graphics and everything else that I have. So I'm going to set up the TV and everything else. It was fairly cheap. Now, the other thing I got, let me put it here real quick, because once again, I'm just trying to be positioned for somebody who wants, because I talked to one client who I was going to do some consulting for. I was going to spend a day and lead a day-long strategic session. Clearly, that's not happening. So we're going to try and do it virtually. And so I got a massive white screen. So I'll be able to stand here, camera on the other side, working on the white screen, right? So doing teaching, put the camera way back here, probably me from maybe mid-thigh up, be able to do it on the white screen. All the other lights go off except for the, you know, the white ones on me or whatever else. And there's an option. And then the other thing I did with them all was they all have, sorry, I know I go too fast. They're all on wheels. So I can wheel this unit to any place in the room that I want to go. Sorry, there's us. And the same thing, it's hard to see in the dark here. The TV stand is on wheels as well. And so whichever wall, if I want to do it with the black wall behind it, if I want to do the white wall, so those walls that I drywalled and everything, I painted with a flat white so that there's no reflection. There's the door. That one is going to have banners hanging on it and the green screen. So literally I'm up till midnight every night, doing construction, trying to get it done. I mean, it's to the point where this thing I'm sitting on, that's the sump pump. You know how glamorous, it's the sump pump under there. And so I had to put a cover on it so it could insulate it so you don't hear the sump pump going off while I'm presenting. So all of this is prospectively, that hopefully now my long-term vision, because I'll leave it at this and I'll let somebody else talk. We're already getting a measure of Zoom fatigue. We know it. This is accelerated what has long been prognosticated about some virtual. It is a reasonable short-term accommodation. It's a horrible long-term solution. My intention is this is not my virtual presentation studio. My intention is this is where I shoot my morning huddles, my YouTube and Facebook Live. I want to use the green screen and put a desk there and do an interview set for, and bring people and interview them for my podcast. I want this to be a production studio or a live streaming studio. And so I got this, which I haven't even opened up yet. But this is a Stream Live HD switcher. So you can put the frame around the picture with the graphics in your website and switch between cameras. I got a GoPro and things like that. The intention is not that this is a major pivot and my new business is as a virtual speaker. My God, I'm so dying to get on an airplane. I want this to be my production facility or friends who want to come over and use it. I don't want to be a virtual speaker. I'm doing it right now. It's an accommodation. I'm doing a lot of Vistage gigs. At least it's keeping me practiced. But this is intended with enough space for me to walk around, do a live presentation. Nobody's going to pay $15,000, $20,000 for non-celebrities on a regular basis for keynotes. It's not going to happen. So, but I'm doing what I can myself, and probably construction costs. Sorry, it's cost. Probably $1,500 in materials, and probably $2,000 worth of equipment.
Yeah.
That's it. I didn't want to pay anybody else to do it. I haven't done the ceiling and over insulate and tell my kids to shut up when I'm recording. That's it. So that's me. I appreciate the opportunity to share. And like I said, I'm just in t-shirt and sweaty. So.
Well, I think it's important to have the capability. Maybe it's not to be bought right now, but it's a capability that you have that you can share, that you can say, this is in my wheelhouse and I can do this when the time comes. So
yeah, even to the point, I'm gonna show you this. I'm hardwired because I don't want to do Wi-Fi, and I bought my own crimping tool to create the hardwire internet. That's how manly I am. I'm crimping. Yeah. Carolyn, are you hearing me? Right. Not every guy can do that. Just saying.
Well, then let's jump over to John, because John has a cool setup, I think, of just watching his video. John, are you going to show us that video, or are you just going to kind of walk us through what you're doing over there?
I hadn't planned on it, but we can send people to it afterwards if you want. But okay, yeah, I'll jump in real quickly and take as little time as possible. So my reasoning was different. Our strategy was to keep as many of our customers and gigs that we had physically, to keep them virtually, or to give them a bridge to when they have me virtually. Because one thing that's maybe a little different with my business is we do 100% deposit all the time. So I have deposits for the year ahead, and what I needed to do was provide something with enough value that I could keep those gigs while getting new gigs, while doing all the other things we're trying to do with live events and products and so forth. So I needed some flash. started where Brad did with Ecamm. And the things for me that are really important about Ecamm are being able to have my slides behind me at all time, being able to, switch, teach, have sound, movies integrated, go very quickly, and, be able to utilize it, with Brad's help for humor. I talk about cybersecurity, so I need help with things like humor, and I need to be able to have a really rich graphical background that I can work with. Ecamm wasn't doing the job by itself for me because it takes so much processing power. So, and a lot of what I do, for example, I don't want to show you that yet, is I'll give demos on products, for security settings. So I need to be, right here on my phone. It's a ton of processing power, or I'll be on my iPad drawing things, using it as a whiteboard. I needed all of that to integrate pretty easily. So let me switch over to a screen only, and I'll just show you kind of what the setup is. And a majority of this was already stuff that we had for recording our Sileo on Security series, and a bunch of stuff we've done with Camacho in the past. So I've just got my fourth input, which is my iPad here. That normally sits here. It's what I draw on when I'm trying to illustrate. What I did to solve the Ecamm problem, because I had all kinds of latency issues, my computer was trying to do too much. The computer that does Zoom and Ecamm is here. It's a high-end MacBook Pro computer, quad processing computer, standard monitor. And then this, Mark, as you were saying, I went to a second. This is just my old 2012 MacBook Air. And to link all of that along with my DSLR camera, which is here, I've got a, sorry, it's opposite directions. I've got a teleprompter there. I rarely use a teleprompter. To hook the iPhones, the iPad, the extra computer all in and not slow down Ecamm, I went to a Blackmagic A10 Mini, which gives me four switches. I can go back and forth between my different devices. It processes all of that on its own so that I don't overtax my computer, because I was getting client concerns with that. And from a business standpoint, we have managed to keep all of our customers because of that. I've signed 2 half-price gigs, half of my normal price, and I would say by far the best strategy for getting those has been to show them exactly this as I'm doing it. They have been impressed by the setup, even though most of this was, I bought the little connectors and the Blackmagic, and I bought Ecamm, but most of the rest of it was already there. The standing desk I had, the lights I had because we filmed it before. But I'll say that for me, the backgrounds have mattered. It has been a competitive advantage. It has been worth doing it. And it's been a complete and absolute utter pain in the ass just to keep those couple of jobs. And going forward, I don't know what it's going to look like. We're working as hard as we can to get gigs, but they're certainly not falling at our feet.
Is that a virtual background you have right now?
Yes, that is. So that is.
I was wondering how you did, because that looks completely real.
Yeah. So there's my background, but I've got good lighting. I've got an amazing camera. I've got how much is the lens? My dad's here sitting watching Camacho, by the way, because he wanted to see you and Brad and Avrin. So, and Savoca, I didn't even
say hi to your dad.
How much is that lens from that camera lens?
That was about a long time ago.
Yeah, it was $300-400. So a good high-end Canon lens, a T7 DSLR camera, and I can put a background behind me and convince almost anybody that it's real. And that was really important for me because sometimes I want to appear to be in places I'm not, both because I do that in my speech and because it sends messages of where you are and aren't. I did the kind of the quaint home stuff for the first couple of weeks, and people really loved that early on. And then I started losing stuff to people who had better setups and who had figured it out, and realized I'm trying to compete at keynote levels. And yet all I'm doing now is training. I think Montgomery told me this. It was something that Chad Hymas said, which is we're all becoming trainers now to some degree. It's very hard to keynote from here. So for me to spend the extra money and get it right and get the backgrounds awesome and be able to show things on my phone and do seminars and stuff was important, because I'm trying to keep the level up. I'm not saying it's working, but I'm trying.
Nice. And so everything you do is green screen. You don't have any natural background.
Nope. I've got all kinds of, so this is my place up in Breckenridge. I'm taking photos of stuff that's important to me and where I live and where I operate and business type situations, because people do like to see you in your natural environment, but I don't ever worry about the lighting. Nothing ever changes. I've got, I'm up on the 4th floor of, we have a townhome in Belmar that we office out of. My parents both office out of it. My business manager. So I had a great space. I'm very lucky to have this space. I realize that's not something. And in my home version, everything was, about half of this, and my clients could tell it.
Nice. And back to your configuration, you have 2 computers and 3 monitors. Well, 2 computers, 2 laptops, and then an additional monitor.
Yep, and sometimes I use my iPad here as a 3rd monitor, depending on the presentation. Sometimes I set it up, like I have here, so that I can show people what I'm doing. They love to see behind the scenes. That's something that Brad gave me is, they love to know how this stuff works. And when they're like, wow, where are you? And I talk Breckenridge, and then of course I'm speaking on fraud, and I can show them, I defrauded that. You can't always believe what you see. It fits in well with the message.
And so your Ecamm Live is going into Zoom, right? Zoom sees Ecamm Live.
There's the other problem I've faced. I have worked with now 3 clients who do not use Zoom. And when they do not use Zoom or they do not use WebEx, you do not get to use a virtual camera. You do not get to use Ecamm. So you get all this pretty stuff set up, and then you don't get to use it. That's why I went to the switch box to the Blackmagic, because I can go straight into Zoom and still I can be a picture in a picture up in any corner thanks to the Blackmagic, and I can have the slides behind me. For me, there's 2 important things. The slides are more important than I am, and me keeping contact with the audience and always being on the screen is super important to keep that physical connection.
And so the Blackmagic is your switcher, and it takes your camera inputs, and also it takes your one of your laptops as your slide deck. So camera, slide deck.
And let me add one more thing to save you all a bunch of pain. We all spent money. I've got my Yeti up here above me, right? It's perfectly positioned and spent tons of money on. I've got a $350 mic over there that I'm not using. I finally went into a hardwired 3.5, XLR mic into a 3.5. I've got this on right now because I don't have that Sennheiser hooked up because of today's presentation. But getting the mic out of the computer and the processing power that those USB mics take has been a game changer for me, both latency in terms of the processing power of the computer and the speed with which I can do everything. So it actually houses my mic, my iPad, my iPhone, my MacBook Air, and those are the 4 inputs.
Your switcher
and then
takes
all of those
audio
go just into the Zoom/Ecamm high-end computer. So it's 1 input. So I don't have an iPhone going in, an iPad going in, a mic going in, and a computer going in. I have a Blackmagic going in, and I switch between those, and the Blackmagic does the heavy lifting.
Yeah, that's great. And so your Ecamm software then feeds into Zoom.
Yep, exactly, through virtual camera.
Yeah, so you have switcher, then you have Ecamm software, then you're going into Zoom. And when you switch it on the switcher, and so in Ecamm, are you doing anything on the Ecamm software, or is that just your portal to get into Zoom?
No, so when I go between my different scenes, so that's scene 2, which lets me get between smartphone, iPad, presentation, and so forth. I've got all kinds of different scenes that I use. So I have like my bumper set up.
Nice. Right.
I've got me set up, from different camera angles, and I've got title slides, and I've got music that I run. And so I use Ecamm for the things that Ecamm's really good at, which is switching between scenes. And I use Blackmagic for what it's really good at, which is switching between devices.
Great. So essentially you have 2 switchers.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and I'll probably put a third, the Stream Deck. I'll probably get a Stream Deck and streamline all of these things so I have a single switcher for all of them.
Wow. Nice job. Did your dad help you do that? Or did he just watch?
Yeah, right.
He helps me do everything.
Moral.
Not only that, but Brad Montgomery helped me do it, and Savoca. And I mean, this has been don't think that this came like this wrapped in a package. I'll bet I've spent 250 hours getting this to work like it works. But I also had presentations to give. So I had unlike what Brad's facing, which is you're doing this all for what's to come, I was doing this because I had presentations that I had to give and nail.
Wonderful. Well, Anthony, do you want to jump in and talk about your YouTube ad campaign now that, we have footage and we want to get it out there?
Yeah, Mark, it's a great segue because, as you know, any producer in Hollywood will tell you that a video is worthless unless it gets seen. So you're actually going to share your screen with me, and you're going to open up ads.google.com, and
share screen.
I'm going to set up an ad campaign in Mark's Google Ads account, and it's just going to cost $1 a day, and he's going to target the top 10 income earners, the top 10 household income earners in a 60-mile radius of Denver.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
If you're in ads.google.com, just open up a new window. Or go there that way. It's right up there. You just passed it. 2 up, right there.
Wow.
And I'm going to request remote control.
Okay. Got it?
Yeah, I guess so. And you're just signing in. You can see the blue bar reaching across the top of the screen there. And it is a big data center, so it can take some time to get loaded up. Over on the left, you can see that Mark's in his overview section of Google Ads. And just down below it has the campaigns tab. And that's where he's going to go next to build his campaigns. And the big blue button is where you create those campaigns. So he's just going to click that and create a new campaign. There's a lot of advanced advertising options here that you can use, and you can set up tracking analytics. But for just simple basic use, we're going to go with a campaign without any goal guidance, and of course a video campaign, since that's what we've got here. There are a lot of new video ad campaigns that just came out. We're going to do a custom campaign, but if you get into this further and you have lots of content, an ad sequence is a great way to filter out people and to keep showing your videos to people who passively choose not to skip your video and they keep watching it. So they've elected in a passive way to say, I actually enjoy your content. And so that lets you know that it might be good to continue to show your content to that viewer. And it's a great way to build a relationship online in the virtual world. So this new campaign is going to be called Live Stream Denver, because that's the business that Mark and Garce got started down there in Denver. So this is going to be a video keyword campaign. So anytime somebody types keywords into YouTube, they're going to see this video. It's going to show up on the video in those first 5 seconds. Sometimes you see those ads that come up and you can skip them. And we're just going to spend $1 a day. We're going to choose English as our language. We actually, in the networks section, we just want YouTube search results and YouTube videos. We don't want partners display network. We don't have any exclusions, although you could probably think of a few that wouldn't be good for Mark, like kids shows. So, you know, you might not want to put it on mature audiences, but maybe you do. Maybe they want to do a different kind of broadcast in their Garce. What do you think? Okay, so this is the ad group, and this is where we call out the demographic. So this is going to be both genders, age, say 30 to 70, 60-mile radius, Denver. And this is where we get to select those demographics. I always take off the unknown. These people have proactively gone ahead and said, I don't want to be identified as a gender or an age or a parent. And so here's the age range, and we're just targeting people in the top 10% of household income earners.
So jump to the end because we have 5 minutes left. And I want to do Q&A.
Okay. Keywords here are going to be studio, production, pro video, video, company, video studio, near me, and director, editor, live stream, producer. And we're going to send them to the landing page, right, Mark?
Yeah, livestream-denver.com.
Okay. This will actually tell us what keywords we should use here.
Livestream-denver.
Denver, sorry. Okay. All right, so it's given us those keywords that we can add. And the bidding we're going to put down as 9 cents per view, but it's probably going to give us views at a lot less than that. And can you go find that video that we're going to use as the advertisement, Mark, in a new tab and pick out the URL so you can put it in there?
I won't be able to find it that fast. I get the idea. I just don't know where it is.
Okay, well, let me open up a new tab here. I can find it for you.
Yeah, let's move on. Because I want to ask everybody, let me have control back. And I want to get into some Q&A for anybody who wants to ask anything before we have to go.
I have a question about what Anthony was just
So
doing.
Carolyn?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Anthony can finish this up and send you the recording of it.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious, what was that all about and to what end and how can we use that?
He does $1 a day as just an example of how you can do a YouTube ad campaign. And it's pretty cool. He did one for me. We did a little rehearsal last Monday, and it's real quick and easy. And it allows you to place your video ad amongst searches. So when people search for something similar, your video ad pops up, and then they see your ad.
Thanks.
Anything on the Brad or Dave or John studio?
This is Jane. I just put a question in chat. I don't know if it's regarding exactly what they're doing, but should we use a wired or wireless mic? And does it matter if we use a lavalier or the fancy mics you guys were showing? I forgot what you called them.
I've got an opinion on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've been through so many different mics, and literally the one that's coming out clearest is a $7 Radio Shack mic that goes to here. Now, it does mean that I'm wired in, but I've gone back to wired. My Ethernet is wired. My computers are wired. Everything I can have is wired because there's so many. The downside of this whole setup you've seen on my case is if one thing goes bad or if there's a disconnect, like you're completely hosed. So to me, the more wired you can be, even the mic that I've ordered, which Brian Walter recommended to me, which is a Sennheiser mic that'll sit right down here and I'll speak right at it, is wired into my Blackmagic. I highly recommend staying as analog as you can.
Yeah, I'll tell you with mine. When I'm at my desk, I've got my Blue Yeti, and I always make sure it's a little bit visible because it's kind of a cool look. But when I'm standing and doing my presentations, I have a really super long cord, clip-on lapel mic. It goes up through my sport coat, and I can still walk around just fine, but absolutely doing a wired mic. I don't have to worry about something disconnecting. I mean, this is just my ear pod just for this, but I use a lapel mic. I know it's in the same proximity all the time, and it's USB straight into my MacBook.
Any particular brand?
They're all good today. It's kind of crazy
Yeah.
for what we're doing, because we're not playing them on, stadium systems. Most people are actually listening on their computer or their computer speakers. They're all good, at least in my experience. I haven't had one I've had a couple that had a little bit of a whine to it, so I bought another one.
If you're also going to podcast, just buy the good mic to start with, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody likes the Blue Yeti.
The most important thing,
And the wireless.
is
go ahead.
speed of the internet.
Yeah. Try and do a wired connection.
David's lip sync was dead on. John's is dead on. Carolyn's is dead on. And I
How about me?
Jane's is dead on. Everyone else's lip sync is off. So that talks about the speed and quality of your internet.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be professional about it, I don't know if mine is on or not, because I'm on a very cheap system right now. But I'm Wi-Fi, but I've got a huge pipeline here, so I'm still at the studio. So most important thing, regardless of cameras, mics, and all that, if your lip sync is off, your believability is off.
Okay.
So what do we do to fix the lip sync? Cue me in.
Linda, you got a good strong internet. Your lip sync seems to be right on.
Awesome. And my brick wall.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a real brick wall.
I see, it looks real. You see an edge to it.
Now, this is my sunroom, and I am now putting in the electrical to make it seize year-round so I can use it as my studio.
I have another question recommendation based. David, John, actually actually all of you guys, Dean, you would know this. I find that sharing the screen and doing PowerPoint, I hate that, hate it. Or would you recommend getting a $300 monitor, another, cheap computer that just runs the PowerPoint and just have it behind me like David's looks now? What would you guys recommend? Mark?
Well, I can real quick say, because I know everybody's setup, and I know the Ecamm Live, and I goof around with all this stuff. I tried to get Dean into a situation where he just has one computer, and it's just too clunky. You have to get out of. What happens is when you go into PowerPoint or Keynote, you're inside the software, and so it disables your connection to stop screen share or start screen share. You have to get out. It's just clunky. So then I went to Ecamm Live, and I tried to do what John's doing with one computer, but the same thing. I can switch an Ecamm Live between the camera input, which sees me in the presentation monitor, switch between that and the slide. I can switch back and forth, but I have to go click on the screen to tell the computer I want that particular item to pop up. Anyway, so the long story short, you want a second computer to just feed your monitor behind you, have a clicker, and then have your other computer doing your Zoom interaction. And of course, the Ecamm Live works, or what John has is the live switcher. He has a hardware-based switcher, but that or the software-based switcher is fine. But you do want that second laptop to run the monitor, so you can click through your slides, and then you can cut between that shot of you in the slide or just the slide itself on the switcher software. So,
and you can have a pretty cheap computer if it only has to run your slide deck. And then the other thing I learned, and I haven't set it all up in here yet, but I learned this from Ross Schaefer, is he takes his back screen, and which I don't have in my boardroom, and puts that at an angle so you don't get the reflection. And then the other thing is, if you have any auto settings on your webcam, I learned this as well, is that every time I had a white screen, all of a sudden I turned dark. So we take it off automatic settings and take your TV, make it as dim as you can make it, because the camera will pick it up, but the camera tends to be too bright, and then it darkens you. Take everything off auto settings, and that's just because I screwed it up so many times. I'm like walking back, I change slides, all of a sudden they can't see me, and then I fix it and they can't read the slides. And unlike John, who is so content heavy with his slides, mine's kind of backdrop pictures. So I want more of the attention on me for the way I'm doing it. They don't have to be able to see the specifics of the technical aspects that John teaches.
I'm gonna make a suggestion. I'm gonna take a little bit from David and talk about being cheap. I wouldn't invest anything more than what you guys have already got, unless you're John, who's already got programmed and who's making some money on it. David, who's already making some money at it. If you've got something where you need to go quick to it, call those three guys up, see if you can go over and use their studio. Go play with it before you go and spend the money. Because man, you can get wrapped up. John will be the first one to tell you. You can get wrapped up in a lot of gear, and unless you've got some way to monetize that on the back end,
right.
It's better to come into any one of our facilities and utilize that. And you're also with that, you're going to get some help. David's going to help you. John's going to help you. Brad, myself, Mark, everybody's going to try to help you, because if you're successful, everybody else is going to get successful. Be alert and because, hey, if this lasts a year, yeah, we're all going to have gear. If this goes 3 more months, you're going to have spent a lot of money on gear that's going to collect dust over the upcoming years. I'm very frugal in my ways about going and doing things, just so that people are starting to spend money. I've got people coming in I talked to people yesterday about coming into the studio that they've got teaching seminars that they want to do here. I'm going out to San Francisco at the end of the month to do a webinar for Korea. I'm actually doing the engineering work for it out in San Francisco. And what they've got is they've got the Korean version of Zoom allows up to 20,000 people to attend, which means that what they're going to do in Korea is they're going to put a video wall behind, or actually in front of the speaker, so that everybody is looking at the speaker and the speaker is seeing those 20,000 people. On my particular one, they're only doing 2,500, but the software itself allows for 20,000 people. So obviously on a small screen that we're talking about, everybody would be teeny tiny. But if you had a 20-foot by 40-foot video wall, LED wall, everybody's gonna see that. And what's cool about it is that the speaker, you guys, would hear the feedback from those people. So when you get done talking, they're gonna clap and you're gonna hear it. So that technology is coming. People are gonna pay for it. You know, you guys are ahead of the game, you know, but it's gonna happen. And the way it's gonna happen is we're gonna take, from a professional standpoint, we're gonna take your feeds, John's, David's, Brad's, Carolyn's, doesn't make any difference. We're gonna take your feed coming in from Zoom, we're gonna use it as a source, switch it the way John does, a little bit more sophisticated than what John has, but it's not much more sophisticated than what John has, and then push that back out on maybe a different platform. Maybe it might be Zoom, might be WebEx, you know. And so in my case, I'll utilize Zoom as an input, and then broadcast back out on GoToMeetings, for instance, or go like that. And so, and use what you have as a source. So yes, what you're doing is the future. Don't get ahead of yourself and spend a lot of money, because stuff is changing so fast that if you're not making money at it now, okay, in 6 months, we're gonna have something new that you're gonna want to spend your money on that's there.
Yeah. I want to throw something in. That would be great for you, Cars. I hope to God that doesn't happen. That's the future of doing virtual. I mean, I think there's going to be some cool opportunities, celebrities, bring in, you know, I don't know. I don't see it for, I don't see it for us.
Come with me to San Francisco.
I know it. I know it. That's crazy. Let me ask you this really quickly before we're done, Mark. Let me throw one thing out there about equipment or whatever else. I've spent a little bit. I mean, this was a Walmart TV. I mean, the whole point is have a longer view. Don't do it for virtual presentations, because I agree with Brad. I don't know that he was going to pay for it. I've got a longer view. I want to create more video content. I want to do podcasts. I want to do YouTube Live and start building a tribe, because I know that the speaker model, regardless how it comes back, is broken to an extent. Who knows how much it'll come back? It'll come back to an extent, but I'm going to be an empty nester in a year, and I got to build some kind of residual value. So I got a longer view of how I use this. One quick question for you, Mark. Are we able to share screen? Am I able to share screen?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to show you something.
Yeah, just go ahead.
Okay, this was when I worked with Garce 11 years ago. You ready?
Yeah. We can't hear.
You got to share your.
Okay.
Oh, look at you!
Look how young that.
I remember you back then. Luxana.
I had to turn off my. I'm a child. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, doing infomercials. How low could I have you know, anyway.
Hey, don't knock it.
I know.
Hey.
Karen's the best, but I started thinking, that's how long it's been since Garce and I worked together. Back now,
Hey,
it's all
Camacho,
right.
I wanted to add something too that Brad hasn't said, but he should have.
Yeah.
Which is, he gave a piece of advice to me that had I had it before he and I went through all of this together, I might have taken it, which is, until you've got 10 gigs or 15 gigs that you have to do this for, just rent out a studio. You're going to save yourself money. You're going to learn all kinds of stuff. It's what Garth said in terms of the equipment. And I got to say, even for the things that I had to fulfill, going back and regaining the 200 hours, which I have enjoyed, but it's been frustrating, I probably would choose to just go to a studio and record my stuff from there for the year while we figured this out. And I probably wouldn't spend a penny more doing that.
Well, livestreamdenver.com. That's where you go. Ask Mark. There's Mark. In fact, that's the studio staging right there. Well, it's 4:15. Or sorry, it's 5:15. Anybody, if you don't have anything else, we can wrap it up. I don't know where you want to go from here, but I suggest I'm going to help Dean get a little further. I'm going to suggest Dean get a second computer for his slide deck, and he'll have his presentation monitor. And then we were talking about him using Ecamm Live. Then I thought, no, it's too complex, but I think that's his thing. I think Dean will have the monitor, Ecamm Live, and he'll switch between one camera shot and the slide shot. And I think that's good for him. And then I think Jane, she had talked about doing a more simple setup. So she'll do kind of what Dave is doing. She'll have her webcam on her laptop, and she'll just prop that up and do sort of a hybrid webinar / content delivery method. So there's many ways to do this. And I guess you start with what do you have, and then go from there.
And Carolyn, if you want to try a teleprompter, you're welcome to come on over.
Oh, I know how to use them. I just don't have a setup for it. I am not an Apple person, which again, may be the biggest problem of all, apparently, because I'm a PC person and I don't have a tablet that works with the teleprompter thingy. So that's the challenge I have.
No, they've got PC stuff.
Okay.
So, and you actually, is it a regular PC or is it kind of like a Surface?
Oh, it's PC.
Okay.
It's a whole laptop.
I just have an iPad, and I just send it over to that, and I set it up on whatever speed, and only because my scripts are 7 minutes long.
Yeah.
I can't remember all of that, and it's pretty well crafted, but I don't know, my teleprompter was $150. It's just the mirror. I have an iPad I put on there, and I edit everything myself. I mean, we're all being frugal.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's all I have.
Hey, thanks for inviting me.
Thanks, you guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Dave.
Nice to see so many friends.
Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Thanks
Bye,
for having
love you
me.
guys. Bye.
Mark,
John,
see you next
love you
time.
guys.
Come to town.
Okay.
Love all you guys. Thanks.
Okay.